Hello everyone, and welcome back to Unboxing Theories. I know it's been quite some time and I'd promised to do this video sooner, but I wanted to make sure that I put all the love and care I could into this video. I feel like my theory on Dann's kingdom is more straightforward than the other kingdoms we've seen so far, but I think the story is indeed simpler. It's not a bad thing to be more simple though, and it also helped that we got 2 views of Dann's kingdom through 2 music videos, so more content definitely makes it easier to theorize. That being said, Ascension and Promise are intertwined in my theory, so I will be talking about both of them. So first things first, Ascension's lyrics are tragic right from the beginning, but it's not the same kind of sadness that we see in other songs. Dann's song is one of great grief as his own people turned against him, and it's clear in the lyrics like, all the arrows of resentment pointing at me, or knife of condemnation, don't forget my royal command. Dann clearly recognizes that the war unfolding in his beautifully peaceful kingdom is caused by unrest from his own people who now resent him and condemn him and want him dead. Dann is heartbroken by this, but the tone is quickly followed by his resolve to stand up and fight back, even if the castle walls burn. The theme is set, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then we also have Promise, which is the prequel music video to Ascension. As I dive into my theory, you'll see what I mean. But essentially, we know from this video that Dann had fallen in love with a young lady, and she fell in love with him. During the springtime, it seems that was when they fell in love, but then we do see the music video shift into winter, so it seems they have some time together before tragedy strikes. This tragedy, I believe, stokes the flames of the tragic tone in Ascension as well, which I love. We witness the lady's bodyguard become jealous of Dann and then attacks Dann, but unfortunately kills Dann's love, and so ends that story. But now I'm going to dive into my theory. The bodyguard of the lady in Promise music video is the entire cause for the unrest of Dann's kingdom and the war that follows, which leads to Dann losing his kingdom, or his throne at least. We know for sure he suffers great loss and claims he'll ascend again one day. We know Dann's kingdom was a peaceful place. I imagine it was a place where all the kings could come to rest from their own kingdoms, and perhaps Promise shows us a time when all the kingdoms were doing well. Or even if they weren't doing well, like the fact that Chaos Ivan, I believe, has taken control of the Land of Snow at this point, so that tragedy already took place and Chiu's kingdom is still lost. But they are finding peace in Dann's kingdom, and that seems like it's rarely affected by violence or disturbance. Dann then falls in love with that lovely lady, and it seems to be a whirlwind romance. She seems happy to be around him and the others, and Dann is obviously happy to be around her. The only one who seems unhappy about it is her loyal bodyguard. The bodyguard has fallen in love with her too, and he dislikes Dann. The reason for that could be as shallow as his jealousy, but I wonder if there might be more to it. Follow me here. In Ascension, we see Ivan writing a letter in a scene, and we also see a similar scene in Promise. But in Promise, there is a split-second moment when we see Ivan writing the letter and smirking. It's so quick you could easily miss it. But when I first saw that, I was like, huh? Who is he writing his letter to? And why does his smirk seem a little ominous? At this point, we know Ivan is Chaos Ivan. Fate Ivan is dead. And I think that he might have been writing correspondence to the bodyguard. There's absolutely no evidence for this except for my theory, but that moment just intrigued me, and the fact that Chaos Ivan is being controlled by the Black Crown, we know that dark force that controls the Black Crown has it out for the kings. Discord is already being sown by the jealousy of the bodyguard, but now Ivan is fueling the fire by sending letters to the bodyguard about the inner workings of the kingdom, or maybe information on the fact that Dann intends to marry the lady. The bodyguard will stop that at all costs, and Ivan knows it. So then the bodyguard makes this scheme and begins sowing lies about Dann or his leadership throughout the kingdom. By the time winter comes around, the people are ready to overthrow their king. However, the lady, Dann's love, knows what's happening. The bodyguard is close to her, so she would definitely see him change or perhaps overhears his plans. So at the end of Promise music video, we see her meet with Dann in his palace. We see Dann's gaze lowered for a moment before he finally stands up straight and gives her a kind smile. He's having a hard time right now. He knows danger is on the horizon, but he wants to smile for her. Mind you, I found it interesting that the lady visits Dann alone. The bodyguard isn't with her, so she must have slipped away, which also makes me believe that she came to visit Dann with the intent to inform Dann of what her own bodyguard has done and what is going to happen. She's coming to give him information. Tragically, she never gets to tell him. The bodyguard had planned his attack, and perhaps he saw her speaking to Dan as the perfect distraction. He charges forward to strike Dan in the back, but the lady grabs Dan and switches places with him and is killed by her own bodyguard, who loved her enough to start a war. Dan is left holding the love of his life as she slowly passes away in his arms. The lyrics to Promise are beautiful for this as well. The chorus, Seya, seya, parang seya, 내 맘을 전한다오, or a bird, a bluebird, please convey my heart, is sung during this part, and bluebirds in Korean culture are thought to be messengers of heaven. He's hoping that his love for her can be conveyed by this bluebird taken to heaven. But now we rush into Ascension. Dan loses the love of his life and likely destroys the bodyguard on sight, but the rest of his people are still after him. He probably closes himself up in his palace and waits, since that's where we see him surrounded and fighting. He's going to stand his ground there, and I do believe the war starts immediately after the loss of his lady love. Interesting to note, though, is that every scene where Dan is fighting or surrounded, he's alone. None of the other kings are present with him. So where have they gone? It's a curious thing, because I certainly don't think they would have turned on Dan, but were they perhaps too late to come to his rescue? Is that why his kingdom fell? At the end, we see them all kneeling together, tied by the rope, but that's also part of the choreography. The only time we ever see the kings with Dan in scenes is when things were quiet and peaceful. It's just a curious thought and leads me to believe that this attack on his kingdom was very sudden and very sneaky. Dan didn't even have a chance to request aid from his friends. But once again, we finish the story with a loss, but a promise for a return. And that's really the end of my theory. I know it was very simple, but there were a lot of fun details within, and just let me know what you think. I mean, I know the theory about Ivan is a little bit on the edge there, but I really like the idea that Chaos Ivan is trying to sow chaos among the other kings, or at least the Black Crown controlling him is, and I really enjoy the idea, and I believe there is enough evidence that the bodyguard had something to do with what happened to Dan's kingdom. So just let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite part in Ascension or Promise was. Let me know what you think of this theory and where it might go, and what we might see in the future. I'd really love to hear from you guys. All right, have a good one.